I think we'll start. Let others join. So, good evening, all, and welcome to the last training session of the project Cyber Suraksha. Let me get into my duty of introducing the speaker. Before that, just a reminder, hope the team is working well, and we will see how things are going. Bijay may be explaining to you at the end what are the future plans, and we'll let you know that we'll be having a feedback session on Saturday. The exact time and link will be shared. I'm sure that you must have gained quite a lot from the last 4 sessions, which were equally good, and we have one more session, which I can tell you will be really good. So let me just get into my duty of introducing the speaker to you. We have Professor Santosh Kumar. He is the professor in Department of Computer Science, Cochin University of Science and Technology. He received his MTech and PhD in Computer Science from Cochin University. His area of research or his interest is in cyber physical system and computer vision. But what made him talk about this today's session is that he has been involved. I think it's still going on, a project on collusion and fake news. Are social networks being orchestrated in favor of fake news? So Dr. Santosh is actually leading a research project funded by MHRD, and also he has published a book along with two other uh, authors from University of Belfast and IIT Delhi on data science for fake news, surveys and perspectives. So what I wanted to introduce is that Dr. Santosh has been doing a lot in this area technically, and we have requested him to share his knowledge so that it will be helpful for you as a trainer of a train program. Okay. Thank you very much, Santosh, for accepting our invitation, and over to you.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, thank you, Minnie, for this kind words and introducing me and giving me a chance to train this IEEE volunteers. I think this program is very fruitful and needs a lot of attention nowadays because a lot of web-related or internet-related things are circulating around us, and as an educated community, we must be able to show the correct path to the upcoming generation. So it's our responsibility. So in that aspect, maybe I would like to congratulate the coordinators of this program, and I wish all the best to the attendees of this program. So I think, shall I share my screen? And
yes, sir, your co-host. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the screen is visible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So welcome. So for the coming 1 hour or so, I'll be talking a very important aspect, which we call it as infodemic. Basically, we are in the pandemic situation now. We know how far a pandemic kind of a situation can affect the people all over the globe, and we are bravely fighting against this. And at the same time, we have to be very cautious about the new kind of pandemic. We call this as infodemic. So we will be talking more about this in the coming slides. So hope all of you have taken COVID vaccine, at least one dose of COVID vaccine we might have taken. Those who have taken the vaccine, we have a bad news for you. Here is a news. Nobel laureate Montagnier, he said that all vaccinated people will die within 2 years. So his words as propagated through the social media, there is no hope and no possible treatment for those who have been vaccinated already. We must be prepared to incinerate the bodies. And he mentioned in a WhatsApp text. So this news, I hope you might have encountered this news. These type of news might be encountered by you. पान के पत्ते का खाने करने से कोरोना वायरस से बच जा सकता है. It's in Hindi. You can take the leaves, pan leaves, and this leaf will be useful to get rid of this virus. So this was another news came in the newspaper. Another news about Sonia Gandhi. So how to convert India into a Christian nation. So this news was actually Sonia Gandhi was speaking something. She was addressing his fellow men, but this image was taken, and you can see somewhere in the rack. We can see somewhere here. So how to convert India into Christian nation? There is a book you can see here, and there is a Holy Bible also in the racks, and a statue of Jesus Christ is also there. So this was appeared in the Twitter, but another video was there maybe some 1 year back. Basically, you can see the racks here behind the same background. You can see the rack here, and you will now see that there is no such book available there. Also, the statue of Jesus Christ and the Bible is missing. So I have just marked that just to show you. So this image was actually viral, and hopefully it was identified as a fake kind of a image. Another kind of a news. Bijoy, there is a disturbance coming.
Okay, let me mute a few people. If you are, attending and not the speaker, I think if you can mute yourself, that will be good. Otherwise, I'll be doing that.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. So another picture recently came. A Shivaling is revealed from Mecca, Medina. We can maybe see the impact of these type of news will create, and mostly they will give an image which connects Mecca and then another image which will connect the Shivalinga, right? Both will be there in the news feed, right? And from Kerala, there is another news came. Basically, it was a mishap of Air India Express flight recently crashed in Calicut Airport, International Airport in August 7 last year. So this news channel is having a habit of explaining the incident that has happened in a real manner. So they will use a lot of media elements to explain that. So while watching this news, they were showing that the aircraft is just about to land, and then it touches the runway, and then it goes crashed. So that video was displayed on, broadcasted through this media, and initially maybe people will not just doubt about it, but later they were thinking how who has taken this video, basically, right? So upon further inspection, it is revealed that you can see the right top side of this image or the video clipping that is being displayed. You can see some words are written here, the right top corner. So what is it? Basically, it says academic license, right? So we can readily figure out that this is just a simulator. So this scene is basically created using a flight craft simulator, right? So that video was actually shown, and people were believing that somebody had taken the video of the flight crashing, right? So these type of news elements, right? Another incident recently happened. You can see a pregnant elephant fed pineapple stuffed with crackers in Kerala. She died standing in river. So this was the news. Basically, the incident happened. The pregnant elephant was there, basically, and she took or ate pineapple. That is also true. And some cracker was there, and it just exploded. That is also true, right? But the news came like this. So somebody fed, right? The elephant fed pineapple stuffed with crackers. That was the news. So it was elephant was accidentally eaten that pineapple stuffed with cracker. That is one thing. Second thing is the incident happened somewhere else actually, but it was reported as it is happened in Malappuram district of Kerala. As you know, from this the tweet from ministers, right, and other famous people, you can see that the central government has taken a very serious note of the killing of an elephant in Malappuram. We will not leave any stone unturned to investigate properly and nab the culprits. This is not an Indian culture to feed firecrackers and kill. You can see why this has become viral. Basically, the word Malappuram refers to a particular, maybe a majority of people belonging to a community is there in Malappuram. So that actually irritated people, and such tweets actually appeared. And finally, after fact check, it found that the incident was happened in Palakkad, not in Malappuram. Right? So I was just showing you some of the recent news and media elements, which was actually got viral through the social media outlet and other kind of news peoples and other television channels, etc. So you can rightly verify basically what actually is behind these type of news, right? Uh, so people tend to react immediately once they see such kind of news elements. We with emotions, right? We react with emotions basically, and most oftenly we do not cross check whether these type of news elements are having some truthness in that or not, right? So the area of fake news and how badly it is affecting the humanity was taken seriously, and even you can see each year Oxford Dictionary declares word of the year, and in 2016 itself, the word post-truth was introduced as a new word, right? And Collins Dictionary basically defines the fake news as the false, often sensational information disseminated under the guise of news. You can watch here. So in this cartoon, basically, you can see how the news is actually being broadcasted, right? So some lady is actually maybe creating some fog and all, and you can see some plane maybe fighting between, and the reporter is actually reporting. Right? So on the background, there is something which is actually not true, right? So these type of reporting structure you can see in any media elements. So so why or what is the maybe the uh, origin of this type of creation of fake news? So in 1522, so Piero Tarquinio was the Italian writer. So basically, when Pope died in 1522, he wanted a particular person should not be elected as next Pope. So what he done was, so there is a public place, and Pasquino is a statue uh, where people just go and maybe through that, maybe the marketplace, right? So there is a statue, and what he had done was, uh, so against that person, he has written some wicked kind of poems, and he has pasted on the wall of the statue, right? So you can see here some uh, posts were displayed on the wall, right? So so you can see the fake news to influence elections, right? And we post social media walls, these type of news. So there is a similarity with this kind of a story, right? Uh, so the impact of fake news. So I just wanted to give an instance where uh, there is a Malayalam actor, Jishnu Raghavan. Uh, so in 2015, basically he has posted a Facebook post, uh, so in which he was just writing like this. So I'm getting a lot of suggestions to take Lakshmi Taru and Mulata. So he was basically affected with tumor, and this is a counter kind of a medicine for tumor. So it was popularized through social media, and he actually uh, decided to take or maybe take this Lakshmi Taru and Mulata to get a cure from his disease, and he actually stayed away from the kind of modern kind of a treatment or medicines. And finally, he realized that the disease got worsened after a month, and he was just advising his fellow beings that nothing is alternative to chemotherapy and formal medication, and don't misled by these type of news elements. So you can see that, and he in 2016 he passed away. You can see what is the impact of this type of fake news. Basically, he had no clues about these treatments, but he learned something from social media, and a lot of his friends might have shared this, and based on that, he made a decision, and finally, he has to give his life, right? So the worst case is something like this, right? And you may have a lot of examples for that, right? So I will just quickly go through the technical aspects of this. So we have seen fake news means intentionally false and shared kind of stuff through internet, and everything from malicious stories to political propaganda is called fake news. And fake news is a continuum. Some news have some bias, others misinterpret, and some others step into misinterpretation territory. So I have given enough examples how these type of media elements are basically propagated through social media and its impact. So let us see some of the technical aspects. Uh, so basically, there is a cognition kind of a plane we have to seriously consider when we are dealing with fake news. So you can see there is a concept called confirmation bias. So maybe there are some elements where we believe, or we have some beliefs on some facts, right? And if some news elements comes, right, we will try to reinforce our belief, right? For example, if I believe that Earth is flat, right? So if a lot of news items are coming, Earth is not flat, Earth is maybe round, maybe a kind of ellipsoid kind of a thing, then I will try to maybe convince myself that, so my strong belief is Earth is flat, right? So I will try some examples or some stories which is available, which explains Earth is flat, and I still wanted to believe that Earth is. But some of the things we are not that much sure. Maybe this can be influenced by these type of social media elements. So what you hear or see, which can be easily manipulated, right? So another thing is there are a lot of buyers for a reassuring lie than an inconvenient truth. As you can see in this cartoon, there are a lot of buyers for reassuring lies. A lie already been stated, but there are a lot of people reassures it, right? Then it becomes something like a truth, right? And the reality is the truth is basically an inconvenient kind of a thing, and it may disturb you. So there is a tendency that there are more people who will buy reassuring lies. And another property is fake news persists. So we will see this with one simple story of Natale. She's a nurse, and she actually works very honestly for her hospital, right? And this study was actually conducted, and a lot of people were given some questionnaire which related to Natale. So Natale's story was described. She is a nurse and she works very hard and maybe treats the patients very well, etc., etc. So a good story about Natale was told, and people were asked to rate her. Right. So Natale was actually rated, and then there is a twist in the story. So Natale had, irrespective of all these things, Natale had a very bad habit where she will steal medicines from the pharmacy and she will sell it outside and make money. Right? So this news element is added in the story. And now the same people were asked to again rate Natale. Right? Okay, so as you can imagine, the rating will be different, right? And then again, once more, the people were told that, okay, this was a fake story. Basically, Natale doesn't do any kind of stealing and selling. And now again, it was asked to rate her. Right? So what do you think? Basically, the rating was different. So originally, Natale was, and her trustworthiness was rated maybe 100%. But later, after the story of stealing and all, then revealing that this is a fake story, and then people were asked to rate her again. The score was a little bit different, right? So that means the fake news persists. Right? Even though if you say that, okay, that was a fake kind of a thing, but the belief that people had in their mind persists, right? So this is the message. So the first negative rating was seen to influence the second rating quite a lot. So those who are interested in doing some kind of a research, there is an emerging area in this field, which is basically an interdisciplinary kind of an area, which includes social science, which includes data science, which includes psychology, etc. So this cognition security, basically it aims to understand the interaction patterns. So human interaction patterns and human social media kind of interaction pattern, their cognition behaviors, and social influence and diffusion mechanism between human and fake news, and investigate the efficient ways to debunk fake news and maintain human cognition security. So this is an upcoming research area. So those who are working in an interdisciplinary kind of a field can take this up and do some research. So there are different kinds of fake news. So it could be a satire kind of a thing or parody kind of a thing. So this is not that much harmful, right? Most of the stories circulating around the celebrities on particular type of websites, Most of them might be kind of a parody or satire kind of thing, right? You might have heard trolls, right? Trolls are basically just for a fun, not to disturb the other person, right? Then a false connection kind of a fake news, right? So there is a headline, right, or a visual kind of a thing, but the story will be something different, right? So you might have seen this type of things. Basically, you will have a very flashy kind of a headline. By looking at the headline, you will try to read that story. That's the thing the websites actually want, right? So heading and the remaining description of the story will be something like maybe there won't be any connection, right? Then misleading content. So this is another type of a fake news that uses information to frame an issue or to frame an individual, right? So maybe surrounding the politicians, right? To bring down their opponents, make false claims, and with a possibility of some truth, right? It may not be 100% correct. Then context, false context, right? Contextual information that is shared around a genuine content. So remember the first story, the false story that I have shared about vaccine, right? In fact, the Nobel laureate was actually trying to explain the problem with massive vaccination, right? He's a virologist basically, so he knows massive. If a country does a massive kind of a vaccination, uh, there is a chance that the virus may get mutated. So he was actually discouraging massive vaccination, not vaccination per se, right? But that story was little bit twisted, and it was saying that every people who took vaccine will die within 2 years, right? So this is false context basically, an imposter content, right? So you have seen the Sonia Gandhi's story. So the image was manipulated, right? Manipulated, and some Bible was placed there, and the title of the book was actually changed, right? Those things. Then fabricated content, right? So these are the type of fake news that we have encountering. Now, how to spot fake news, right? This is very much interesting to us. So I will advise you have to take a closer look, right? Check the source of the story, and do you recognize the website? So there might be a lot of stories coming, but the source, right? From where this story is actually coming, right? Is it a credible and a reliable source? And if you are unfamiliar with the site, look in about the section or find out more information about the author who actually has written this kind of a story. So before you forward a message, right, in any kind of social media, make sure the content, the credibility of the content, you have to make sure, right? So once you are maybe forwarding that message or taking a photograph and then posting it in the social media, right? Then you know what happened. Recent movie Vikruti, right? Shown what kind of damage it can cause, right? So and look beyond the headline. So as I told you, the headline will be very flashy kind of a thing, right? You have to check the entire article, right? And it uses the headlines, basically uses a sensational kind of a headline or shocking, just to grab the attention, right? Like the pregnant elephant was fed, right, pineapple stuffed with crackers. So these type of shocking kind of headlines will attract us, right? But upon investigation, you can identify, okay, there is some incident, but it was not intentional actually. The pineapple was there actually, but it was not fed by a man to the elephant, right? Elephant was accidentally picking that pineapple and it was taking that, right? Then check the other sources, right? The social media or the World Wide Web is very fast, right? You have a lot of reputed kind of news media outlets, right? Whether the story has come there or not, right? So this type of checking will help you to identify or spot the false information. And check the facts. Stories with false information often contain incorrect dates, right? Altered timelines. So there will be some stories just bubbling up, right? And claiming some content which was actually maybe some 2 years back might have happened, right? So using the same content to create another story, right? So whether it is an old story or a new story, you have to check the facts against that, right? Then biases, right? As I told you, the confirmation kind of a bias, right? So we human beings are always have some bias, right? I have a bias that I believe that Earth is flat, right? So nobody can change that, but so your bias also has to be checked before you try to believe or not on a news element, right? So is it a kind of a just a troll kind of, right? You can maybe you can enjoy that moment and then you can neglect it, right? And there are fact-checking websites which is basically curated by human journalists, and they are providing a great service. Whenever a false news or false information, image or video comes, they will be checking that fact and then they will be posting the correct information in these type of websites, right? So, okay, I know that it will be little bit late before you realize that it is a fake news. But understand there is a website where we can always cross-check the stories, whether the stories are true or not. There are a lot of websites, or even Indian-based websites are there. I haven't listed here. You can check that, and you can use a very simple technique to identify whether an image is a false image or not. Just you can use a reverse image search of Google, right? You have to go to image.google.com and you pick up the image that you have received, right? So you can always upload an image in the image search. So it will search the entire web and tell you actually whether this image is actually there, from which website is actually came, right? Even you can use the URL to search that image, etc., right? So you can verify whether this image is actually coming from the uh, uh, website or from the story that is actually been claimed, right? So as I just pointed out in the Sonia Gandhi's story, right? You can take so it was 2 years before video. Sonia Gandhi was addressing the congressman, basically addressing a lot of issues related to the country. She was explaining that, right? Somebody took that image or image from the video, right, and manipulated and posted it as maybe as a hot selling cake kind of a news, right? Then you can always take that snapshot of the image, take a reverse Google search, you will find that video and you can see that it is 2 years old kind of a video, and you can see the original video, right? So this type of simple techniques we can utilize to understand whether the news is a fake news or not, right? So now I will give you some quick overview of so the basic tricks that we have just learned is we need a human to do that, right? So to do a reverse image search, we need, or to check, fact check, we have to go to that website and see whether such news elements are there or not. But there are a lot of machine learning approaches coming up, right? So automatically, whether machine can identify all these things and help you out, right? So let us see some approaches there. So maybe I don't know whether you are from computer science domain or other domain, but most of the people might be knowing the word machine learning, right? Basically, we try to teach machines, right, to do a classification kind of a task, right? So given an image of a cat and dog, right? So the machine has learned something. So machine has a model to tell, to discriminate whether it is a cat image or a dog image, right? So this is a typical classification problem. So given a news item, right, the machine has learned some model, right, and this model is being used to check whether the news item is fake or legit, right? So there are different lot of kind of approaches, and many of you might have heard the word called deep learning, right, which is coming in a big way in computer science domain, right? A lot of computational power, using a lot of computational power and a lot of data, we can teach machines to learn some models so that this type of classification or clustering kind of task can be automated, right? So there are different kinds of approaches where we can do this. So one is visual based, right? So you have to take visual cues that is prevalent in the content, the image or the video, or you can use linguistic based approach where we use the text, right? The text is considered as a communication system, and it includes a lot of characteristics like tone, grammar, pragmatics that allows the discourse analysis. So how the dialogues are actually being crafted in a story, right? So as just we have identified that most of the fake news will have very flashy type of headings, right? Some shocking kind of headings, right? So the emotional content that is there in the news element will be greater, right? So you won't see such emotional type of elements in a plain kind of a text where maybe a scientific fact is being explained, right? And another approach is network based. That means you know what is a social network. You can consider your friend and friend of a friend, right? Connected. So all this forms a kind of a network, right? And how these news items are basically being shared, right? So based on that, based on the properties of this, we can figure out a lot of things. So all of these type of approaches we can do, we can use for teaching a model to the computer using machine learning or deep learning type of approaches, right? So let us try to identify how machine is actually trying to figure out from the given text and all, right? So for example, suppose we are giving a tweet as an input to the machine. So there are a lot of cues it can take from this type of tweets. So from where this source of information or misinformation is actually, and what is the content, right? Then a hashtag, URL, images, right? The date, time, location, then the propagation of this information. For example, retweets, replies, likes, right? All these things are forms, features of a machine learning kind of an algorithm, right? There are machine learning as well as database, traditional type of database approach, where you have to build a knowledge source, a huge knowledge source we have to build before we try all these aspects. But machine learning approach is better than this type of DB approach. So in machine learning, we have supervised and unsupervised kind of approaches, where in supervised, simply we give some examples and teach the machine, right? So this is a cat, you learn it. This is a dog, you learn it. Then I am giving another image of a cat. Tell me whether this is a dog or cat, right? So this is a kind of a supervised kind of. And in unsupervised kind of a thing, you don't give any examples. Let the machine learn by itself from the data, right? So that kind of an approach is called unsupervised. So we will see. So this is the basic approach, where we give a lot of input from the fact checking kind of websites to learn, right? So there is a combination of news item and a fake, whether it is a fake or not. So those classes are there in snoops.com, alt news, or in BBC, etc. We have two kinds of labels. That means the actual news and whether it is a fake news or not, right? So those type of inputs are required to fed into the machine, and the machine can learn a model, and then it can classify whether it is a fake or legit kind of news item, right? So this is basically fake news identification using supervised. Right? So again, the features from the source itself, you can take the credibility of the fake the profile, right? Whether it is Barack Obama or not, right? A lot of cues you can take from the. So there are a lot of features you can take from the content. It is lexical, syntactic, right? So the tense of the words used, emojis, emotional words, hashtags, URLs, content of the photos, content of the videos, etc. And again, as I told you, propagation of the features we can learn, and this can be used to use classification kind of a task, right? So there are a lot of other types of features we can take. So data representation, right? So please remember, you cannot just input a news item or an image or a video directly into a machine, right? You have to convert it into a format where machine can accept. So normally numerical format is actually been used to as an input for any machine learning task, right? So we call this as embeddings. So words, if you are using a text, words should be converted into what we call embeddings, word embeddings, which are not text, but they are representative of text in terms of numerics, right? Then there are psycholinguistic lexicons are available. Then the readability kind of feature you can use, basically whether a given article is readable or not, right? So you can make an analysis of that. Disclosure based on the theory of text organization, right? So if you copy paste, for example, a document, right? So one paragraph will be written in some way, right? Some style will be there. Another paragraph will be different, right? The reading, while reading, you can understand, okay, these two paragraphs are actually coming from different sources. So machine can easily understand all these things, right? So this is just an example of a word embedding. I don't want to explain that here. So these are some of the networks that we use for classification purpose. So text and image, both can be taken. So given a web page or a tweet or a Facebook post, you can take both text and images from the post and train the network, and finally you can discriminate whether it is a fake or not, right? So another interesting thing is there are a lot of text generation approaches coming up. That means machine can generate text. Have you heard about machines write stories, right? So the journalists are actually interested in these type of products where you give some clues, right? The machine will generate a story, right? And it will be a very much like a human author written kind of a story, right? So there are a lot of text generation tools available, and the most interesting tool is GPT-3. You can see in this table, the last one, right, is a heavily used kind of open AI tool, basically. It is available as an API. So anybody wants to use the model that is being created. It's a huge model. This model can generate stories, right? So you can see the other tools as well, and you can see the giants like Google, Facebook, right? NVIDIA, Microsoft. Everybody is there in this business. Everybody is there in this kind of a research because the worthiness, right, in terms of generation of wealth is huge, right? Another approach is like a knowledge-based approach. Maybe if you get a story, you can identify the objects in that story, and you can make a connection between these objects, right? If the story is a fake story, the connections will be little bit, maybe you cannot find some arcs coming from one node to another node, right? So that kind of an approach is there to find out fake news. And now people can feed the entire graph. The social network, as I told you, the social network can be treated as a graph. The graph can be directly given to a deep learning kind of an architecture, and you can take a classification kind of a task, right? So I will just skip. Okay. So if you are doing a network-based approach, you can see some interesting facts about. So for example, if you are studying the propagation of peaks of this network, of this news item, you can see that the fake news will have this type of behavior. That means the story comes and it is heavily retweeted, right? And then it goes die somewhere here, and then again gets a peak, right? Then again this is the behavior of a fake kind of a thing. And but legit kind of a news, right, will have one peak. When it comes, it peaks and then it dies out, right? So this is from the network behavior, right? How the tweet is being propagated, right? So fake news will have a property that the same old story might have again taken, and then people will use that. So this type of a behavior, right? So another thing is diffusion patterns in the network, right? So fake news will have a diffusion pattern. If you look at it, you will have a singleton nodes in the network, and legit news will have a clusters of clustered pattern, right? So these nodes are basically people who are connected to each other, right? So legit news will have a small clusters where the legit news will be circulated among the connected people, friends and friend of friend, like that, right? So this type of a diffusion pattern you can see. And as I pointed out earlier, fake news will have a lot of emotional content, right? And the real news will have not that much emotional content available in that, right? And there is a technique where people can distinguish between. There is a technique called emotion amplification. So if you have a bunch of stories which contains legit and fake, right? We can use a technique called emotion amplification, where we add some words which amplifies the emotions, right? So that we can finally cluster these legit and fake stories. So they will separate out. If you do an emotional amplification, all the fake news stories will come and cluster in one side, and the legit news stories will come and cluster in the other side, right? So these are the studies done and results reported, right? Then there is a likelihood of people who will respond with a lot of inquiries for a fake news item rather than a legit type of news item. No, people will ask a lot of questions, right? So with that pattern, we can identify whether it is a fake or not. So I will stop with a very recent kind of things that is happening in this field, where uh, I just explained machines can generate text, right? So machines can even generate fake news stories, right? Machines can take an maybe even a rough drawing of a person and can uh, create an image, right? Or this is very dangerous, which is called deep fakes. Deep fakes. So videos which will look like a real kind of a video. Here you can see Tom Cruise, right? Actually, the person who has created this, he masked his face, and Tom Cruise's face was given, and he uh, uh, created a video as if Tom Cruise is coming and doing something, right? So this type of fake, deep fakes, this is called deep fakes, right? So we can just see some thing how the giants are actually helping us to counter fake news. So Google has announced one interesting kind of a formula to identify fake news, where Google, if you search something, Google will provide you a link or a small button where you can click that, and Google will tell about this result, right? So as you know, if you do a Google search, you will get a lot of results, right? And each result you can see about this result. That means it will be saying from where this result has come, right? And whether it has been securely connected or not, and the link to that source, right? So each stories it will analyze, and the source will be identified and told to you. It will tell to you, right? So you can use this feature about this result of Google search engine, right? So now it is in beta, but maybe we will be able to see that. Another interesting kind of a thing, using a game, right? Using a game, people are actually given some concepts of how this type of fake news are actually propagating and how we can stop that. So I will advise you to go to this link and just play this game. It's very simple 5-minute game from which we can learn a lot of things. So whether we have a confirmation type of a bias based on the questions that the game will be asking, based on that, whether we will be retweeting that or not, right? So based on that, it will be giving a credibility score for us, right? So based on that, we can see, we can learn a lot of things with respect to whether we would like to share a news item or not, right? So for the want of time, I will not, actually, I wanted to ask you to click this and just check whether it is and Facebook is doing a lot of things, right? They are actually responsible people, and they do some ranking improvements based on legit and fake news. They rank appropriately. Then there is a reporting tool, right? You can, if you believe that it is a fake, you can have a button and you can click there, reporting that it is a fake kind of a thing. Then they are working with a lot of partners like fact checking partners to get early cue of whether a circulating story is a fake or not, right? They run a Facebook journalism project where funds are being given to the journalists and maybe those who are working in this type of field, right? Then another initiative is news integrative initiative, right? There are a lot of other, maybe even Twitter is doing a lot of job to combat fake news. So the bottom line is a year into the pandemic, vaccines are being rolled out and information about them, some reliable and some are not, is everywhere. That's the bottom line. So Mini has mentioned there is a book on fake news, so which is a outcome of a project, a joint project. So maybe if you get a chance, maybe just try to read this book. So thank you. Over to Vijay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for sharing your expertise in fake news. This is quite relevant because we are going to have these trainers talk to people who are early internet users, and early internet users are the most gullible when it comes to fake news. Yeah. Especially, we have aged people forwarding WhatsApp messages, which could be, potentially fake news, right? So I would probably start the Q&A session with my own question. So let's say if someone gets a forward or such a message, so is there a go-to method for you to go check, okay, whether it is fake or not? What are the steps that you will recommend?
Yeah. So basically, I will advise, don't take the news item emotionally. That's the best thing we can do. You just take time to read the entire story, right? Most of the tweets or most of the reshares, right, happens without reading the entire story, right? So we have to use our wisdom first, right? And if you are curious about that, maybe there are a lot of things I have just mentioned. We can fact check, right? Fact check whether the story is relevant or fake or not. So those aspects we can do. So first thing is, don't emotionally react on any kind of story. If it actually affects to a community people or it is health related kind of news, right? So those aspects you take time and then try to react. That's the first thing. And as I pointed out, there are a lot of other ways in which we can maybe figure out whether it is a fake or not.
Okay. Okay, so another question is, what are the steps that, probably people who spread fake news, what are the things that they do to make it more believable? What are the interesting things that you might have seen from your experience?
Yeah, so I have shown the lot of examples of such things, right? So the elephant, pregnant elephant case, right? So you have seen that the news was actually targeted to some community people, right? So meticulously, the creator has changed the name of that place of that incident happened, right? So instead of Palakkad, he said Malappuram. That will trigger, right? That will amplify the emotions of people, right? And another thing is, instead of elephant took the maybe stuffed pineapple, he said that it is fed, right? So somebody fed fire packed pineapple to elephant, right? So these are the kind of cues people will use to generate fake news, right? And the story of the COVID vaccine, right? So the Nobel laureate was actually explaining something in an interview, basically, and that interview was held, and it was there in the internet. But the same thing was taken and just manipulated some of the words, and then he put, right? So fake news creators actually use the information that is there in the internet, and to reinforce the story, they will use a lot of other links, right? They will just mention it is said there, it is said there, like that. Most of the links may not be in fact not related to this story, right? So without reading and without fact checking, we believe that this is this kind of it's a kind of a real news, right? So yeah.
Another question I think Binu sir is asking: is there a browser plugin for detecting fake news? I suppose in US they
Yeah.
have factcheck.org,
Yes, yes.
websites for it. But is there a plugin that might, add
Yeah, yeah.
additional?
Yes. I have seen maybe as a research project. I don't remember the name of that plugin. Basically, you can install a Chrome plugin to have a fact check. That means whenever you browse, right, there is a plugin as a button. You can click there. It will show the. It will fact check. Basically, it will use the fact checking websites, and it will tell whether the story is fake news or not, right? So there are tools, there are plugins available as a research product, basically.
Right. Another question is specifically Twitter, which is among the social media that's more popular. When you go outside Kerala specifically, and with political news, there has been a lot of controversy with US president being marked as fake news. In India, there is even more controversy about whether to mark it or not. So, Twitter timeline as history is being used against political opponents, sometimes fake Twitter posts from previous years are used. So how do you check the authenticity of all this? A common man cannot go look at 5 years back to check if somebody has posted so and so. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe I don't have a straight answer for that, but again, maybe if you are in politics, for example, right, you know how the things are evolving, right? And unfortunately, most of the people just forwarding or retweeting most of the news might not read, and they don't actually know the evolution of that story, right? So even with little fact checking, you can reveal these kind of stories are actually being posted earlier and those things. But a common man, as I as I told you, there is no need to react emotionally immediately by looking at the content. Uh, Maybe there are no tools actually, but Twitter is doing a lot of job there. If a spike in the retweeted tweets are there, uh, they have a ranking mechanism where these stories will not just bubble up in the Twitter your profile, right? So those type of attempts are there.
Can you unmute, please? Sorry, mute. Okay, I'll mute it. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I think we are going out of time also. So let me end with a light-hearted question. So someone has reported that your book is 15,000 rupees in Amazon. So are we all getting a soft copy or are we getting a free copy today?
Are you recording this?
Yes, we are, but it is on YouTube.
Okay. Maybe offline I can give you
right.
some
So
ways out. But
email the other.
no,
Email the mother for assistance.
No, the interesting story is you can see the second author, Tanmoy Chakravarti. He is in with IIIT Delhi. Actually, he straight away sent a mail to Springer that his maybe a lot of colleagues and other research scholars actually wanted to buy this book. Can you give a discount? Right?
Okay.
This was the news. And Springer immediately said that there is no chance of getting any discount for this. This pricing has been done for the international market, right? So they believe that international buyers might be buying this book, and there is no need to even sell to individuals, right? Maybe most of the libraries might be procuring all these books, all these copies of this book. So they haven't given any discount. only thing we received $200 from them just after release of this book, plus 5 hard copies of this book.
Yeah.
And some royalty will be coming later, but that's the thing Springer has given us.
Sure. Anyway, congratulations on the book, sir, and thank you for sparing the time to talk to the trainers. Let's hope fake news will be definitely one of the agenda for them when they go reach out to the community, to the schools, to the parents as a trainer. So your talk and your recorded live video will be of use to them.
Yeah.
So I think we can sign off for today. So this was the last session by the expert. On Saturday at 6 to 8, we will reconvene. You all are supposed to work as a group. We have divided into groups. So work on your presentations. What is the slide that you are going to present to the community? We will listen to each of your groups and we'll give you comments. We hope to hear from your plans about who are you going to talk to, which community you're reaching out to. This is an effort across different sections of IEEE India Council, and we thank you for your time. All these days, evening, weekends you spend, on this mission. We hope all the sessions were fruitful for you. We will be asking for feedback on Saturday, so please mark your calendar 6 to 8 p.m. on this Saturday. Thank you all.
So
Good night.
Can I just
Please,
add? Yeah. So participants, please, you can use as a project. Maybe Vijay was just mentioning some presentations there. Somebody, some group can take the sites that I have mentioned, right, and the fake news detection techniques that I have mentioned in the talk. You can come up with some news items and demonstrate it, right? Demonstrate with these type of tools how you have identified the news item as a fake news kind of thing. And again, the game that I have just mentioned, you can use that. It is basically outcome of a research from a great university. You can use that and you can teach other people to maybe how to behave while receiving a news item, right? Whether you have to retweet it or reshare it or something like that. Before taking a decision, what are the things to be taken care of? So everything is there in that game. Yeah. So that, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think there are a few questions coming to me about this Saturday. So I'll just explain that. So one of the questions was that, do we need to have is there a time duration? How many slides? So just think that, this is the slide deck that you're going to reach out to the community with. So we don't have a problem with, you're going with X number of slides or Y number of slides, right? On obviously Saturday, we would like you to go over fast because all the 5 groups have to present. So we'll just give you feedback on them. You can obviously modify that even after Saturday, and each one in the group can make it their own. So there is no restriction, there is no format. We hope you can assimilate all the messages about fake news, about what are the steps to be taken about harassment, the legal aspect, the message from the police, message from the computer scientists. So let's cover all those things. There is no a set format. Feel free to come up with your own format. Okay, so with that message, let's conclude for today. Thank you to Santosh sir for taking his time, and thank you all the attendees for active participation. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you.